Hi, my name is Esteban Herrera. Welcome to the first episode of the series about building chatbots in Skype using the Microsoft Bot framework. In this series, we're going to program a bot that gives recommendations about movies using some of the Discover features of the MovieDB API. You'll need a MovieDB account and a free development API key. Let's get started with a simple Hello World bot. First, create a package.json file with default values. Uninstall the bot builder Node.js SDK with npm install -save bot builder. Next, create the file bot.js. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, but you can use any editor you want. Alright, first let's require the bot builder module. In this first example, our bot is going to interact with us through the command line with a console connector. Out of the box, Bot Builder includes a console connector class for interacting with a bot from a console window. Next, create an universal bot object using that connector. Bot Builder uses dialogues to manage conversations with a user. You can think of a dialogue as a route for a website. As users send messages to the bot, the framework tracks which dialogue is currently active and automatically routes the incoming message to the active dialogue. We can run our bot in the console and interact by typing anything or just pressing the Enter key. Now let's introduce a concept called waterfall. Waterfalls let you collect input from a user using a sequence of steps. To implement a waterfall, pass an array of functions to the dialog so the results of the first functions are passed as the input of the second function. This way, we can chain together a series of these functions into steps that create waterfalls of any length. To ask the user for input, the SDK provides some building prompts. In this example, we're using a text prompt to ask for the username. This will capture anything the user types and it will be passed to the second function. If arguments are passed when sending the message, they will be formatted using sprintf.js. Let's test it. As you can see, the bot doesn't remember our name. Let's fix that and start building the actual movie bot. The SDK includes 4 ways of persisting data relative to a user or conversation. One of them is user data, which stores information for the users, like their name in this case, across all conversations. Yes, we're mutating the state of the session here, which is not considered a good practice because it could lead to problems on more complicated apps that may change this state in different places and in asynchronous ways. But this is the way session data works in the framework. Okay, rename this dialog as askName, and instead of calling send, we're going to call endDialog that will send the message and mark the end of this dialog as well. Now the framework includes an intent dialog class designed to determine the user's intent when they ask your bot to do something. By default, this class uses regular expressions to identify the most likely handler to invoke. If no intents are recognized, the onDefault handler will be invoked. So let's pass a waterfall to onDefault that will check for the username. If it is not stored already, we'll call the askName dialog, and when it finishes, the second function in the waterfall will be executed. If there's a name already stored, we can use next to go directly to the second step. This second step just sends the message, I'm new around here. I only know the movie command. Say it if you want a movie recommendation. The intent dialog matches method lets you trigger a handler based on the machine or a regular expression. In this case, movie. Let me show you how we are going to structure this waterfall. First, we're going to ask for a movie genre with another dialog. Then, if the user actually chose a genre, we're going to store its ID in the dialog data property of the session. Dialog data persist information for a single dialogue, which is helpful for storing temporary information in between the steps of a waterfall. We'll ask for a release year in another dialogue, and if the ID is not greater than 0, we send a message to end the conversation. Finally, we store the year in another dialog data property and execute a function that will be responsible to call the MovieDB API and send the movie recommendation. Let's code the dialogues first and then the parts related to the MovieDB API. For the genre, let's use a choice prompt to ask for one. This prompt asks the user to pick an option from a list. The list of choices can be a pipe-delimited string, an array of string, or an object, like in this case, where its key will be the choices presented to the user. We'll review this object in a few moments. With this prompt, we can safely assume that a valid option will be always chosen. So response.entity will store the name of the genre that we can use to extract a genre object and pass it as the result of this dialog with the endDialogWithResult function. In the case of the year, we can use the text prompt with the message to enter a release year or something like no. In the second step, we can use a regular expression to extract the year as 4 consecutive digits in any part of the message. If there's no match, an empty string will be returned. Now let's review the MovieDB API part. We are going to use the library MovieDB, so let's require it, passing the API key as an environment variable. To save some time, I'm going to paste all the code of this part. We are going to need some information that we can get dynamically from the API, but for simplicity, it will be hard code. It consists of the base URL for poster images, its size, and here's the genre object, where the key is the name of the genre and the value is the ID. This is not the complete list of genres the API supports. I just chose a few of them. Now the getMovie function takes a session object. We can send a typing message with sendTyping, and the MovieDB library provides the discoverMovie function to use the Discover API, which takes a lot of parameters to filter movies, but in this case, we're going to use only sort by with the value popularity desk, with genres and primary release year, passing the stored dialog data. The discoverMovie function also takes a callback with the error or the response. If there's no error, we get the list of movies returned by the API, randomly choosing one. Then we send the message, I found this movie, // because 2 of them are required to insert a new line in the message, and as you can see, Markdown is supported. So enclosing the title of the movie between 2 asterisks will make it bold, while 1 asterisk will make the overview italic. With the help of the structuring, we're extracting the movie and overview properties of the movie object returned by the API. If the movie has a poster image, we can attach it to the message using the attachment functions, which takes an array of attachments. We just have to specify the content type and the content URL, which is built using the image-based URL, the poster size, and the poster path property of the chosen movie. If the API returns an error, we just send a message to try again. And that's it. Now let's test our bot. I previously stored the movie API key in an environment variable, so I just need to install the MovieDB dependency with npm install --save MovieDB and start the bot. Let's give it a name, type movie, choose a genre, and say something like 2016 please. And there you have it. In the command line the message is not formatted and the image is not shown, but it doesn't matter for now. So movie again, and if we choose quit, okay, maybe next time, great. Now we're ready to deploy our bot to Skype. We just need to make some minor changes. I'm going to require Restify to set up a server listen port 3978, and then change the console connector to a chat connector and configure it with the bot app ID and password, passing these via environment variables. The universal bot line stays the same, and we just need to configure the post route API messages with the connector listen function. And that's all the changes we need. Back to the command line, let's install Restify with npm install -save Restify. Great, we're not going to deploy our bot to a public server. We are going to keep it locally and use ngroup to expose our local environment to the world. ngroup is very easy to install and use. You just download a zip file for your platform, unzip it, and then run it from the command line. So in another tab, I'm going to type ngroup http and our port 3978. ngroup will give you a URL that will forward requests to your bot. I'm going to copy this HTTPS URL because we are going to need it. Now to publish the bot, go to dev.botframework.com, log in with a Microsoft account, and go to the Register a Bot section. You can upload a custom icon for your bot. I'll just leave the default. Give it a name, the movie bot, the handler. This is kind of an ID, so it has to be available and it cannot be changed. Let's try the movie bot 11. A description, a bot that gives recommendations about movies. For the messaging endpoint, I'm going to paste the ngroup URL, adding the API messages route. And let's create a Microsoft App ID and password. Generate an app password to continue. This is the only time the password is shown, so make sure to store it securely. Okay, finish and go backward. At this point, we can go back to the terminal window and start our bot. With the Microsoft password I copied. Let's go back for the app ID. And the server is now running. Agree to the terms of use and click register. Bot created. Great. We can see there's a bunch of channels, but the Skype and web channels are already configured by default. Let's test the connection to our bot. Okay. We can try the web chat here. Seems like it's working just fine. So let's add the bot to Skype. I'm going to sign into my Skype account. An important note, you need to update your Skype client to the latest version. Otherwise, some features of the Microsoft Bot Framework may not function properly. Alright, we can see our bot is online. Let's send it a message. Give it a name. Ask for a movie. By the way, we can send the number or the name of the genre. And this doesn't have to be the complete name. No, this time I don't want to choose a year. And there you have it. The movie name and description. And the poster image. And that's it. In the next video, we'll see how we can test and debug our bot using ngroup, VS Code, and the Bot Framework emulator. Take care and thanks for watching.